Well, that's part of a competition which was run by architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth to do a song about the free-fall collapse of Building 7 at World Trade Center on September the 11th. What about the Russians? What is their view of the Bilderberg conferences? And is Vladimir Putin just another gangster?
My name is Gennady, and I am from the former Soviet Union, of course, but I already have been living in the West for the last 26 years. So I used to work before in the aerospace industry, in the former Soviet Union aerospace industry, and I used to work in the aerospace industry in Germany for Airbus, not directly, but for some suppliers of Airbus. And I used to work for some American sort of government organization as a contractor. And I know, I gathered a lot of experience in political military issues in aerospace, and I sort of of course, I always observed what is going on in the former Soviet Union during the Yeltsin chaotic times, and I can tell you for sure that Putin is not gangster at all. I mean, just really. And
he does seem to just be prepared to do deals, to sell various things for getting a good relationship with the big guys, the Americans.
But he has no choice, because Russia still now is technologically disadvantaged, and they need some time to get some grasp of the technology, even because they're really backward in many areas. Look at the last example, this MS-21 aircraft. Yeah, it was like a aircraft similar to Boeing 737 on Boeing's Airbus 320, and only 50% of the technology is genuine Russian technology. The rest, basically all systems are Western systems. So, I mean, they still need something to do. They need time. What they can only do, they can do some good military stuff, and to protect themselves, But they still need a lot of technologies and a lot of advances. Maybe they need even to change the mind of the Russian people, because many Russian people still sort of not accustomed for the real competition.
But, I mean, Putin is having to deal with the very, very powerful oligarchs in Russia still, isn't he? He can't really do what he wants.
Yeah, of course. That's why he's trying to maneuver himself. I mean, and his only guys, former KGB guys. So basically, this is his narrow circle of friends. Only with those friends he can survive, because the sort of sharks, Jewish oligarchs or other sharks, Russian oligarchs, what they call themselves Russian, but in fact they're Jewish, and he only can position himself in support by the support of this former KGB guys. And there is nothing here, I mean, to blame. I would not blame him for this. He's still trying to survive. He's still doing pretty well in comparison to what could have happened. I mean, if he would be given at least 10 years, we will see absolutely another Russia, and maybe absolutely another world. Because in order to protect common people in the West, they probably should support Putin now.
How do you see the Bilderberg, and how are they viewed, do you think, by Russians?
Listen, I do not live exactly in Russia. I cannot tell you on behalf of the Russian people, but I can tell from my own kind of experience and my own view. Yeah, those guys just they kind of private guys coming here, meeting with some sort of government guys, and they instructing them what they should expect, what they should do. But they just trying to sort of to explore situation, what is going on now, and keep your finger on the pulse, so to say. But it's not real. There is no real secrecy here. I mean, this just sort of instruction for the some kind of prime ministers or some economy ministers, this sort of hidden sort of instructions.
Have you worked on both sides of the old Cold War divide in Russia and in the West, in your former Soviet Union? What do you think is the professionalism on both sides of the military?
I see American guys very professionally, but in terms of Russian guys, they're really tough guys. I mean, they may be missing some stuff, but they learn very fast. So, I mean, you cannot. In some way, they may be not really sort of well advanced as American military. Yeah, but if you compare them in the real fight, I would bet that Russia will win.
So you think maybe that the West wouldn't dare to take on the Russians in places like Syria and Ukraine militarily? What do you make of those two issues? Because there's a lot of tension around.
I mean, absolutely, they would not take on Russia in Ukraine or in Syria. That's why they're using Ukrainian idiots. They're using Ukrainian idiots in order to take on Russians. I mean, that's clear, and Putin reacted very, very smartly. He also used the Ukrainians from the Russian side, from the eastern Ukraine. So basically, it's this is a game. But Americans are afraid to take on Russians directly.
What about Syria? What do you make of that? Because that's always been a potential hotspot in the Cold War, even.
Yeah, but I would involve in Israel there, because I assume that all problems goes from Israel there. I mean, in Syria, they still want Syria to destroy Syria, to make maybe 3-5 states, small states, and manipulate Syria. That's why basically Israel is behind all the problems there.
A lot of Russians point the finger at the United States. They say this is a real bogeyman. And Israel too, you've just mentioned there. Both of those countries were actually originally created by the British.
No. In some way, yes. But what I'm trying to say now, that Israel is basically using the U.S. as a proxy. And Israel is behind all problems here. So I'm just all in the world, even the Bilderberg, they kind of Israel. There is no Israeli guys there directly, but there are some Jewish guys who represent Israel. I mean, come on.
Do you see any solutions to these tensions around the world, financial war between the superpowers?
No. As I see right now, the only counterbalance to the Bilderberg is Russia. I mean, really Putin. So, I mean, the only chance for the rest of the world, just support Putin as a counterbalance. I mean, if we're talking about check and balances, system of checks and balances, yeah, that's exactly, if you're talking about the system of checks and balances, the counterbalance here for the Bilderberg would be the Russia. I mean, truly. That's my point.
That's Gennady there. He used to work for Antonov, the Antonov design house over in the former Soviet Union, and now working apparently with Airbus and big Western companies, but he only wanted to give me his first name.